And we're live.
I think a Bitcoin is worth more than an ounce of gold now.
Really?
Yeah.
So
Bitcoin
can
is
you
a
explain to me
thing.
what it is? Like, where do you get a Bitcoin, and where do you spend it, and on what do you spend it? Like, how does this work?
Go?
Yeah,
I definitely want you to go because I've read the answer 6 times and I can't answer his question.
I wish Chiz was here because he's actually an expert on the topic. But I'll say this: it's a new currency. Like all the other currencies, it's really only backed by the fact that people are willing to give you real shit for it. How do you get one? There's 2 ways, of course, like a dollar, someone can give it to you. But to sort of manufacture it out of thin air, you have to like solve a cryptography problem, So the people use either these dedicated machines or sometimes a graphics card, and they just have it churning away trying to solve a problem.
But what do you mean a problem?
Like
sorry to stop you so soon into the explanation.
That's
I'm so far outside of my depth, but it's something like it's a brute force hack at this thing, and they'll say like, here's the code, and then you have to like keep plugging numbers into that code until you find that you've got the match, if that makes any sense.
Since we don't know the specifics, like the thing is that it requires these really powerful machines doing lots of machine hours cranking at something to finally make one. So there's a lot of invested machine work time, and those machines are expensive.
There's a kind of math problem that's easy to solve forward but hard to solve backwards, and that's the basis of cryptography. And again, there's probably some expert on there going, Woody's half right. But yeah, it's a math problem that's easy to solve in one direction, but not the other. And you have to solve it in the hard way. So you just keep plugging in numbers until you say, aha, it fit the solution that you've given me. And when you do that, now you have a Bitcoin. They're worth something like $1,500. I don't recall. But they are worth real money. At Woodycraft, we used to accept Bitcoin for payment.
What do you gain? Like the person, when you gain a Bitcoin, like who is the party that benefited from you using your computer to solve that problem, that equation thing? Like who gave you the Bitcoin in exchange for that work?
There are like a couple of like trusted manufacturers of Bitcoins. I know one of them turned out to be dirty, and the guy like took all the money for himself. I forget the name.
This early in a currency's life cycle, my God, who would have thought?
And I can't name which ones are active right now, but there are like authorities who determine that you are actually the first one to have solved this problem, and they grant you the Bitcoin. They don't gain from it. They're just sort of the administrators of this currency. At Woodycraft, we used to accept Bitcoin. I didn't really invest in it because every single day we would convert it to dollars. So some people, they're like Bitcoin enthusiasts, and in hindsight, maybe I should have done this, but Bitcoin enthusiasts hoard their Bitcoins. They keep it thinking that the currency is going to keep going up and up and up. And thus far, it's kind of gone up like stocks do, not in a straight line, but you get these highs and lows. You look at where you are compared to 4 years ago, and it's good. So
this is so confusing. I just
let me just read straight from Wikipedia what Bitcoin mining is, because mining is a record-keeping service. Miners keep the blockchain consistent, complete, and see, it doesn't matter unless you read the 3 pages.
No, you have to click translate to English.
Yeah,
it should be in the bottom.
That's not there.
So
using the SHA-256 hashing algorithm, which links it to the previous block, thus giving the blockchain its name.
So, like I said, it's a kind of math problem that's easy to solve forward and hard to solve in reverse. And they just keep trying and trying. And typically what happens, it's so hard to earn a Bitcoin, you will join a group of people. And now you're on like a team of, I'll make up a number, 2,000 people, 600 people, all trying to solve the same one. And if any one of you solves that Bitcoin, you divide up the value of it based on how much work you did. So if I did 90% of the like team's efforts and you did 10, but it was in your 10, I get 90, you get 10, because you just really got lucky. And but the idea is that if we pool our efforts together to solve this thing, then we have a better shot of getting it at all. And my 90% really just means I had more graphics cards, more ASIC units doing it than you did.
Gold mining seems much more fun.
Honestly, I was just bashing the gold miners. That sounds a lot simpler.
Yeah.
You go like just shake it and then it falls.
They're like, we dig it out the ground. I'll never be smart enough to be a Bitcoin miner, but I've got a pan somewhere.
I'm trying to read this and understand it on this Bitcoin Stack Exchange website. It says, although individual Bitcoins enter the Bitcoin economy as miners are rewarded for processing transactions, it's much more helpful to think of all 21 million Bitcoins as having been created when Satoshi Nakamoto defined the Bitcoin protocol and launched the Bitcoin network in 2009. The reason for this is that the Bitcoin protocol specifically defines and controls when and how a limited total number of coins are rewarded to miners for the job of securing the Bitcoin network. These Bitcoins are really just mathematical tokens, which are very carefully controlled by the network protocol to prevent counterfeiting, theft, etc. By agreeing to use the mathematical tokens as money, the larger Bitcoin community is essentially backing their value and turning them into a currency in the same way traditional African and Asian societies use the money cowrie despite the absence of any central bank. Unlike the money cowrie, there will never be more Bitcoins. They are impossible to counterfeit. They can be divided into as many small pieces as you want, and they can be transferred instantly across whatever. So there's only 21 million of them out there.
Yeah, let me picture this, because here's how I'm picturing it so it makes sense to me now. I'm imagining he drew an enormous math equation that's difficult to solve, like just gargantuan on a marker board bigger than you can look at. And within it, if you solved the entire thing, you would have 21 million Bitcoins, because that's the cap. There will never be more or less than that. And since its initiation, people have been slowly solving it and earning from the total amount of 21 million. But there's still very much more marker board to solve. And I think I read that it's being solved at a rate of like 12.5 per day or something, 12.5 Bitcoins per day.
Oh, wow, that's really slow.
Noteworthy thing to mention is that every time someone gets a Bitcoin, the next one is harder. So these math problems keep getting like exponentially more difficult.
And so the value rises.
Right. Now computers tend to get better, and they're like ASIC, I think is how you pronounce it. These ASIC machines, they're dedicated Bitcoin miners. They tend to get better every year. But so it just we have to use bigger shovels, and they have more dirt, and that's right.
I'm such an internet
that's when the Bitcoin market crashes.
Like what do you do? Do you just go to like bitcoin.com and click like start mining and
pretty much. Someone else has a program that you download and you run. The AMD graphics cards, I hope I have this right too. I think I'm going to be partly right on most of what I'm saying. AMD graphics cards tend to do very simple instructions. So every instruction is worth a little less, but they do more of them at a time. Whereas NVIDIA cards tend to do more complex instructions, but they do few of them at a time. And for Bitcoin mining, it turns out that the AMD idea is much better. So there's something like 10 times better than NVIDIA cards for mining Bitcoin. But I think using video cards to mine Bitcoin is now become old school, because they just suck too much energy for what you get out of them. Now you buy dedicated Bitcoin machines.
So if you're getting like 12 of these a day, 12 and a half, whatever you said, Kyle, worldwide, does that mean that like people who set this up like 6 months ago still don't have their Bitcoin?
Oh, I'm sure there are people who don't. Yeah, if you were to try to do it by yourself.
No, I was wrong. I think
you'd never get
the supply growth is 12.5 Bitcoins per block, approximately every 10 minutes. Until midnight 2020, and then afterwards 6.25 Bitcoins per block. Oh, this is how much more difficult it gets to mine as time goes on. This is how many Bitcoins you get per block of the equation that is solved. This is something completely different. This is supply growth.
As they work their way up to that 21 million cap, they're getting harder and harder to solve.
I understand economics somewhere between this and Patty's dollars.
I don't know Patty's dollars.
Patty's dollars, and It's Always Sunny, where they're like, Patty's dollars. We just distribute them out to the people, and they come in and they have to spend it at Patty's.
It's like, I don't think I understand how this fake economy works. Like, I don't think I understand how a real economy works.
I thought you were honest. Oh no, I blacked out that night. Yeah, I thought you were leading the.
I'm looking for a new topic.
solution.
Oh,